A young Colin Firth touring dying music halls, Hayley Atwell squaring off with Matthew Macfadyen, Edwardian medicine under a microscope, these 10 shows are seriously underrated. It's time we change that. The 1992 film already nailed it. So on paper, this 4-part TV version had no reason to work. And yet somehow it does. In fact, 4 hours almost isn't enough for everything this adaptation wants to explore. It's a fresh take on Forster's novel, with all the depth and detail that make the story timeless. You've got the Schlegel sisters, progressive, thoughtful, forward-thinking, set against the wealthy and conservative Wilcox family, and then there's the Bast couple, stuck in the struggling lower middle class. 3 households, 3 completely different worlds, all woven together in a way that shows how social divisions were shifting right at the edge of the modern age. This version captures Edwardian life just before the world changed. You see London and the countryside on the cusp of World War I, caught between old traditions and the push for something new. The period detail is spot on. Clothes, interiors, everything feels lived in and accurate, without ever feeling like a costume parade. And the cast is absolutely dialed in. Hayley Atwell, Matthew Macfadyen, and yes, even Joseph Quinn turns up. It's carefully written, beautifully made, and surprisingly powerful, even if you think you already know the story. Set in 1902, Berkeley Square is a mini-series that deserved way more attention than it got. It follows 3 young women, nannies, who take jobs in wealthy West End households right in one of London's most exclusive neighborhoods. It's a classic upstairs-downstairs story, but told from the perspective of the nursery floor. These girls aren't just background, they're the emotional heart of the series. You get to see their private struggles, their growing friendships, and how they navigate the strict class system of the time. It doesn't have the budget of The Grand or Brideshead Revisited, and the plot isn't as sprawling as Upstairs-Downstairs, but it doesn't need to be. What this show does really well is intimacy and nuance. The small moments between characters carry weight. The emotional tone is carefully built, and the friendship at the center of it all holds the whole thing together. The setting, Edwardian London just after Victoria's death, is a key part of the mood. There's a transitional feeling to everything. The old world hasn't quite disappeared, but it's clear something new is coming. The casting is perfect too. The 3 leads are incredibly well matched, and that dynamic alone makes the whole thing worth watching. If you love quiet, character-driven period dramas with heart, Berkeley Square is an underrated gem that deserves a spot on the shelf next to The Pallisers or Cranford. Based on a true story, and yes, that part matters, Arthur and George follows Sir Arthur Conan Doyle in 1906 as he gets pulled into a real-life mystery. His wife has just died. He's grieving. He needs something to focus on. And then he hears about a young Anglo-Indian solicitor, George Idalgi, who's been falsely accused of mutilating animals in a small Staffordshire village. This was known as the Worley outrages, and the whole case was a mess from the start, fueled by racist suspicion, bad policing, and a rush to judgment. What makes this one special is how it walks the line between historical drama and classic detective fiction. Conan Doyle investigates the case the way you'd expect Holmes to. His secretary Woody helps him, acting like a grounded, real-world Watson. But underneath all that is a deeper story about Edwardian justice, the legal system, and the racial prejudice that ran through it all. It's not a documentary. There's dramatic license here, but the foundation is absolutely real. The series shows a Victorian icon stepping into the Edwardian era and trying to make sense of it. And it works. It's sharp, it's focused, and it gives you a piece of British history that isn't often told. Also released in the US as London Hospital, this is one of those shows that does exactly what a good period drama should do. It takes you right into the world. No gimmicks, no sugarcoating. Set in Whitechapel during the early 20th century, it focuses on the staff at the London Hospital. And here's what makes it stand out. All the cases, characters, and storylines are drawn from real hospital records, old nurses' diaries, and contemporary newspaper reports. This is Edwardian medicine the way it actually was. Messy, difficult, sometimes heartbreaking, and constantly evolving. The miniseries builds a detailed picture of what it meant to work in a hospital back then, especially in London's East End. You see how early X-rays were handled. You see how they fought against infectious diseases without the tools we take for granted now, and you get a real sense of how brutal those class divides were, how differently the rich and poor were treated, even in a place that was supposed to be about healing. It also takes its time with the nurses. You get to see what they dealt with day to day, not just the medical side, but the social pressure, the expectations, the way they were spoken to and treated. Doctors and administrators were at the top of the food chain, and everyone else knew their place. Honestly, in some ways, not much has changed. The Village doesn't go in for glamour. This isn't Downton Abbey. It's tough, raw, and incredibly grounded. The whole thing is set in a rural Derbyshire village and starts in 1914, just as the First World War is looming. You follow one working-class family, and through them, you get a full picture of what early 20th century life actually looked like for ordinary people. This is about dirt under the fingernails, about scraping by, about the kind of poverty and pressure that never shows up in the fancy drawing rooms of most period dramas. Farmers, servants, shopkeepers, it's all in here. And the way the show handles regional life, especially in the north, is absolutely spot on. It's more Heimat than Downton, and that's exactly what makes it worth watching. It takes its time. It's about slow change creeping into a place that wasn't built for it. And it's a reminder that Edwardian Britain wasn't just tea sets and corsets, it was people working hard just to survive. Set in 1909, Mr. Selfridge is a total contrast to the village, and that's why it works so well here. This one's all about ambition, glamour, and the birth of modern consumer culture. It follows American retail genius Harry Gordon Selfridge as he builds his department store on Oxford Street, and right from the start, you're thrown into that high-energy mix of American confidence and British tradition. But this isn't just a business story, it's a social one. Upstairs, you've got Selfridge rubbing elbows with the upper class and early celebrities. Downstairs, you've got window dressers, shop girls, and porters dealing with their own drama, ambition, and quiet resilience. It covers everything from the rise of leisure shopping to the shifting roles of women, and it nails how the store became a kind of crossroads for social change. The show also gets the visuals just right, from the design of the store to the way people speak, dress, and move through their world. There's real charm here, but also a lot of commentary woven in if you were paying attention. This one's a spin-off of Upstairs Downstairs, but you absolutely don't need to have seen that to enjoy it. Thomas and Sarah aired on ITV in 1979 and picks up in 1910, right after the two title characters leave their service jobs behind. Thomas, who used to be a chauffeur, and Sarah, a former parlor maid, head out into the world together. And what makes this show so refreshing is that it doesn't follow them back into some grand household. It follows them out into Edwardian England, where they're hustling, scheming, and trying to make it work. They try their hand at everything. Little business ventures, shady cons, working for new employers. You get a real sense of what life was like outside the manor walls. And the locations are wonderfully varied. You see the countryside, city back streets, even music halls. It's a side of Edwardian life that doesn't get shown very often, especially not with this much personality. Plus, the chemistry between John Alderton and Pauline Collins carries the whole thing. This one's a gem. Lost Empires aired in late 1986 on ITV, and it's based on a J.B. Priestley novel. Set just before the First World War, it follows a young man named Richard Herncastle, played by a very young Colin Firth, who leaves home after his mother dies and joins his uncle's traveling magic show. The series takes you right into the world of the Edwardian music hall circuit. You've got vaudeville acts, comedians, fading stars clinging to their careers. Laurence Olivier plays one of the performers, and even in a supporting role, he's unforgettable. What makes this one so special is the tone. You can feel the end of an era creeping in. Richard experiences all the firsts: love, loss, heartbreak, all while touring provincial towns with a magician's act, and you just know it's all about to vanish with the war. It's rich, atmospheric, and full of those little behind-the-scenes glimpses that make the theater world so fascinating. A quiet, bittersweet piece of television that captures the pre-war years better than most. The Duchess of Duke Street follows Louisa Trotter, played beautifully by Gemma Jones. She starts out as a servant, works her way up to become a celebrated cook, and eventually ends up running a high-end hotel in London's West End. The show is loosely inspired by a real woman, which gives it that extra bit of grounding. You see both sides of society here, the kitchens downstairs and the guests upstairs. Louisa navigates it all with sheer determination, and the show doesn't sugarcoat the class barriers she has to push through. It's elegant, it's sharp, and it's deeply rooted in the Edwardian period. The costuming and sets are right on point, and the writing really gives Louisa the space to grow. It's a portrait of ambition in a time and place where ambition wasn't exactly welcomed, especially not from a woman in service. Flambards ran on ITV in 1979 and spans the years leading up to the First World War. It starts in 1909 and ends right as the war is looming, and the setting is this crumbling old estate out in the countryside. Christina Parsons is the central figure, an orphan sent to live with her uncle and two cousins at Flambards. Her uncle is an old-school aristocrat who's obsessed with horses and hunting, and one cousin follows that path. The other cousin is obsessed with machines, with the future, aviation, technology, all of it. The show uses this family to mirror a whole society in transition. You've got fox hunts and dusty drawing rooms on one hand, and motor cars and airplanes on the other. It captures that moment where everything is just about to change. And Christina herself is a fantastic character. She doesn't just come of age, she watches the entire world around her start to shift. The class system, the gender roles, the expectations, it's all being challenged, and she's right in the middle of it. It's rich in detail, grounded in its setting, and a perfect portrait of Edwardian country life coming to an end.